I am such a big fan of that intro video.
It's chill. It's very, very chill vibes. I like
It
it.
is a ripper of a guitar solo at the end there. I love it. Oh, I love it. What's this, you ask? Why, this is a delicious Mountain Dew kickstart. And I actually added something new to the automatic tweet
I saw that.
about that, and it's the date. And now it'll
Right.
tell you what day it is.
It's just like we all type in our tweets. 221-07-08.
That's the normal way to say it, isn't it?
Like, hello, fellow humans.
Hi. That's right. How do you do, fellow kids? This is the normal way to say a date, right? Let me see. So the way I did it is I was like, how do you add a date in JavaScript? And I just copied how someone did it. And it's right here. It's let day today equal new date is to ISO strings slice 0 to, and then I was like, all right, someone said do it like this, so that's how it comes out. And
That's
yeah.
why I was always pretty sure that was an automated tweet, but then when I saw it today with the date like that in, I was like, it's definitely an automated tweet.
Listen,
I was like,
who has time?
That's code.
Who has time to every day type the same tweet? I don't. Maybe the guy that ran the Big Ben Twitter account at first did.
What's
I don't
out?
have that kind of time. Big Ben? Oh, the Big Ben Twitter?
Is this like Chevy Chase? Look, kids.
No,
there's
like
Big Ben.
the clock.
Oh, there's like an official Big Ben Twitter account.
Well, hold on. Let me get my
Yeah, I
actual
say bold
search
move,
skills.
just searching Big Ben.
The Big Ben clock, and it bongs the hour. So
Oh, for what hour it is too.
uh-huh. Maybe that guy's
Oh.
doing it all on his own. Also, that's a classic profile there. It's real good. That's exactly how Big Ben looks.
That's pretty accurate. I mean, when I saw it, it was undergoing renovation, so it was covered in scaffolding. But I'm pretty sure that's what it looks like underneath the scaffolding.
I mean, it's a paint drawing for sure. This was made in 2009. Someone in 2009 was like, "Yep,
417,000 followers. I'll never have that many followers.
never." I can't even hope to have that many followers. That's amazing.
I will say, one thing I learned in college was how these clock towers work, like with the chimes and the bells.
Oh, is this because UF has a tower that has chimes and bells?
Yeah. Do you know about this? Like how because every 15 minutes it chimes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll play bong, 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 bong.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 15 after the hour. And if it keeps going, it goes bong, 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 bong.
Mm-hmm.
Half past the hour. And then if it keeps going, bum, 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 bum. 45 minutes after the hour.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. Top of the hour.
Yeah.
And then it plays a chime for each numeral of the hour.
It's always great
So, like,
to be
at
there
noon.
at noon. You get a whole song.
Like 5 minutes later, the clock tower's done.
Yep. You're just trying to get through Turlington Plaza to get your class, and someone's trying to
Turlington
argue with
Plaza.
the campus preacher about something or other.
There's always somebody screaming at you about
Yeah.
how all sorts of different people are going to hell.
Were you going to UF when when flash mobs were really popular?
Yeah.
And there was an official flash mob group at UF.
Oh, did you
And-
do it?
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, it was. So there was a guy in a red hat, and he was the leader, and it was like a Facebook group.
The guy in the
And
red hat. Oh wow, I forgot about that.
yeah. So that was our cue to start the flash mob. So it was the most memorable one I know was in Turlington Plaza, and it was based on there was an Xbox commercial at the time that showed a bunch of people pretending to have a shootout in a mall.
Oh yeah.
And then like it was just pandemonium in the mall. So they were like, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna pretend to have a shootout. And they were like, rule number one: you cannot have a fake weapon. It's finger guns only. That's it.
Ah! Oh, cool.
So the cue was there was a guy in a red hat he's like, you'll know when it's time, and he walks out, like pulls the red hat out and puts it on. And he bumps into another guy, and they turn around and start arguing, and then they pretend to, like, do finger guns. And, like, all of Turlington Plaza turns into a standoff for, like, 5 seconds, and then the guy in the red hat goes, bang! And we all go, bang, 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 bang! And everyone, like, pretends to die. And then a guy dressed as a ninja came and assassinated the guy in the red hat. And then we all stood up and clapped and went to class. And now that I look back, I'm like, that was a weird thing to do.
That's so cool. Oh, wow. Yeah, I want to say, I think I joined the Facebook group, but never could make it to an event. But yeah, I remember the guy in the red hat. What a cool
There was
time.
one where everyone stood up in the student union and ate a banana.
You toast it? Or like give a toast?
Oh,
or
you
something?
like stood up and
Banana.
like put your banana up in the air and then ate it.
Ah. That's back
Flash
before
mobs
social
were-
media ruined the world.
Yeah, that's a time
Just-
of innocence.
Just making
you know?
fun flash mobs.
How are we going to use this tool to connect people? We're going to eat bananas and we're going to pretend to... We're going to have fun and organize activities. And now it's like, oh, we're going to like, overthrow democracy.
Topple
and-
governments.
Yeah, we're going to topple governments. We're going to spread misinformation with this. I wish y'all were just doing flash mobs instead of Capitol riots.
Well,
You know how it is.
flash mobs.
Listen, that's actually a really great transition because you said speaking of, and now we can move on to Visual Studio Code. Or I can open up my Stream Deck and you can see all my sounds that I have. Which,
Ooh. Record
hold on,
scratch.
I have to switch my
Hell's
input
Kitchen.
in order for you to actually be able to hear this. That'd be, I think it's this one.
I'm only hearing the background music. I don't hear you anymore, PJ.
It's really, yeah, this is the problem I'm having where, like, my input, like, it's, I don't know what it is. Like, I should be able, maybe I need to, like, change my settings for when I'm sharing my screen. Or just not share the screen at all. That's cool, too. Let me see. Yeah, it doesn't let me show the option to share the audio like it does on what's that platform you use?
StreamYard.
StreamYard. And we're on Restream, in case you couldn't tell by the logo.
That's my favorite part. It's like, yes, this is a paid Restream account.
That's right.
No, they won't let us remove the watermark.
It's the basic account, and it's like 15 a month. I don't know. I'm thinking of getting Pro because I really like it. The automatic transitions are dope. Like, that's slick. Does it all on its own.
I really like that. Yeah, StreamYard's really nice just because it's so simple to use, and even when you have guest join, they don't really have to do anything. I mean, Restream's similar in the fact that it's all in the browser, so it's like you can just send somebody a link and you're in.
That's right.
But yeah,
And
I don't know.
Restream,
One day,
if you'd like to sponsor me along with Kickstart, I'm available.
it almost looks like they do because we have the logo.
We're gonna force
Brought to you by Restream.
Thanks, Restream, for forcing me to have your logo on.
They make us pay monthly.
Yeah, they do.
So it's a weird sponsorship, but
Yeah. Oh, I can even. There we go.
Look at the Restream.
That's what people want. This looks like a Sonic level.
It does.
I love a good Sonic level. Were you a Genesis kid or a Nintendo kid?
Still am, and both. Got Super Nintendo, N64 to Sega Genesis in the room right behind me.
Nice.
But growing up, I had Nintendo, and then we went to the Genesis.
Okay.
Like the original Nintendo, then the Genesis. But yeah, the Genesis was cool, man. I had one of those, and I forget what it's called, but you could, is like Xbox Live before Xbox Live. Like you connected it to your phone line. You could
Oh my god.
download games.
Yeah.
You like paid monthly for it. And like, I wish I remember what it's called because nobody believes me when I tell them about this.
I know that
Like,
Sega had
Sega?
one called Fantasy Star. Is that the one? Or was that the game you played online?
I have no idea. Genesis online games. But it's sweet because so every month they would rotate through games, and and especially once I figured out my dad's password, I could download any game because he had it set up so like I can only play like age appropriate games because
Yeah, sure.
I was like probably 8-10 years old in this scenario. But then I figured it out and I was able to play Primal Rage.
Oh, Primal Rage was
that
so good. So good.
Oh,
Looks
Sega
like
Channel.
Sega Channel was an online game service.
That sounds familiar.
Launched in December 1994. By way of coax cable, baby. Oh my gosh. Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, it's great. So like my parents never had to buy me games because every 30 days the games would rotate. But the problem was they would be different games every month. So like
Oh,
maybe
okay.
you really were enjoying Earthworm Jim, and then it's gone.
Then it's out of there.
I mean, they'd rotate him back in, so you get to see it again eventually. But
oh my god, Sega Netlink. Wow. Access to email through the console for a Sega Saturn.
and look at that, a 28.8 kilobit per second modem.
And a browser developed by Planet Web Inc. Which, what's Planet Web Inc? Are they still around?
It doesn't look like it. They're Sega Retro, yeah. It's like a Crunch-based company, profile and funding.
Yeah.
Probably not.
I'm thinking that's new. My god, I love it.
Or maybe.
I used to...
It said Planet Web is a browser and email service.
Official Planet website might be dead. Yo! Apparently it redirects to Monotype Studio. I wonder if they bought them. Well, no, this is like a...
It's weird.
What does that link direct to? Like... Let's see here. planetweb.com. Takes you to Monotype.
The link below that on Wikipedia said it was archived in, does it say 98? 96?
Okay. Yeah,
96.
96. Oh my god! Oh my god! I love it! I love it!
Wow.
Oh, baby. That's gorgeous.
I
mean, it's
this
terrible.
Is a real company's website back in 1996.
Amazing. Amazing. Company info. Give me more. Oh my gosh. Oh, yes!
Look at those. Yes. New. Yes.
Corporate vision and strategy. Who were their partners? Let's see that. Absolutely. Uh-huh. Zilog. That's such a 90s graphic and name and About Zilog. Give it to me. This is no longer a show about building a website. We're just going to look at old. Amazing.
We're getting inspiration.
That's right. We're going to change the new morphism. This? Gross. We need to make it look like an Angel Fire page. Oh, amazing. Oh, God bless. Everyone check out Zilog. Sponsored by Planet Web Incorporated. Thanks, Planet Web. All right. We should actually do something on this stream, I guess, huh?
Yeah, do a little codes.
A little bit of codes. Once in a while, we do the codes. Something I know I need to fix is this dead picture link, but that's a pretty simple one for sure.
We could do that. Oh, did you ever set up CI/CD again?
Yes, my CI/CD is all set up in
Cool.
Oh wait, no, it's not. I'm a liar. It's set up for the Divas, which let me show you. The Diva CI/CD. It's pretty straightforward. So let's check out the most recent pipeline. You can see I was working on this yesterday.
Cool. What's the Divas?
Divas are our Twitter bots. This is going to be Badiana Grande, Mechanical Carry. I've got my Kickstart begging in there as well. I just stuck an extra file in there to make mine automated as well. And of course, world famous Shania bot of Shania Twain fame.
Cool.
And yeah, so I was able to set up that CI/CD, and I realized that this is just the log of it that shows it all happening. To see how it's set up, we should actually go in here. And the way you do CI/CD in GitLab is you have a .gitlab ci.yml file. And in YAML. And all of this just sets up a node image to a little environment to run everything in, and then to deploy it, which I run mine on Heroku. You can see that to push it to production, there's only one stage, and down in here, the script that I received from Heroku. Like I looked up how to connect GitLab and Heroku and found an article that walked me right through it. And like it says down here, it only does it on the main branch when it's updated. So when I update this code, and actually if I take you back to the CI/CD, you can see that I ran this pipeline like, I guess I only did it once, fixing functions. I thought, I was pretty sure I ran it like 6 times the other day trying to make it work, but I think that was for a different project. Just sitting here going, run pipeline.
Oh man. I will say getting CI/CD set up is just so much trial and error. Which you could argue, yeah, so is everything, right? Like writing code, trial and error. But the problem is CI/CD, like your pipeline might take 10 minutes to run. So you like edit that YAML file and you say go. And then you have to wait 10 minutes to see if anything changes. And like I've lost days of my life to setting up or fixing CI/CD stuff because it's not like it's consuming like tons and tons of brain power every minute. But it's like I can't really context switch and do anything else because this is what I'm focusing on. And if I lose focus, then I'll forget where I left off. And so it's just kind of like, all right, well, I'll click go and I'll watch the logs go for 10 minutes and nope, still didn't work. So I'll edit something, I'll click go and I'll watch the logs for 10 minutes. It's just like so draining. And at the end of the day, you've changed like 5 lines of YAML. Right. But it works.
I will say that I don't know if other places do this, but this will tell you, hey, this is valid. It's gonna work.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's not necessarily saying that it's gonna do what you want it to do. It's like, this is valid.
Like it'll run.
Yeah, it's valid. And GitLab does a great job. Like GitLab's thing is CI/CD. Like I'm getting ready to give a presentation on CI/CD in GitLab the end of the month, and I'm terrified.
Is that Boston? Am I remember that right?
This is for GNOME. They have
Oh,
a thing called Guadec that they do, GUADEC, and we have an open source community organizer named Nuritzi, who's just a fantastic person. I want to be like Nuritzi when I grow up. She's amazing. But she reached out to the developer evangelist team about having someone present at Guadec for GNOME.
cool.
And they were busy, but one of them was like, PJ should get some more practice. Maybe he could do it. And I was like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And they were like, well, actually, we already have a presentation. You just have to learn how to give the presentation. And I was like, okay. So I'm going to be working on that and presenting that at the end of the month. And
Cool.
it's cute. There's some code written in Go. And I wonder if I have it on my personal, if it's on my work one. I think it's on my work one. But basically, at the end, inside the pipeline, you make a little rainbow Tanuki, and the Tanuki's our little logo. And it's just, you make one in rainbow colors inside of the pipeline log, and that's the whole goal. But really, it's learn how to do CI/CD.
Right on.
Mm-hmm. Pretty excited.
That's what I call conference-driven development, where
Yeah, man.
I submit talks to conferences that I don't know.
Yeah. This is the event.
I'll figure it out.
Also, I found out just 2 days ago that it's pronounced GNOME and not Gnome.
I don't know.
Listen, the person I was talking to used to work there. And they were like, they said GNOME, and I was like, wait, what? They were like,
Good
yeah.
day.
They tend to say GNOME. Yeah. Oh, it's good day to you too. So yeah, that's going to be. I'm speaking on the 23rd. So if you're looking for an OSS conference to attend, there you go, folks. And I suppose
cool.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say that GitLab Commit's coming up in August as well, which is I am not
busy
speaking
schedule
at it.
coming up.
I am not speaking on it, but y'all should go check that out too. What have you got coming on? Before we get into the code, what do you have going on?
Ooh.
Time to plug.
Yeah, let me hawk my wares. So,
That's right.
speaking of conferences, I'll be at that conference later this month. This will be my first in-person conference since January 2020. Woo!
Wow, man.
But yeah, that conference is one of my favorites. My favorite thing about it is it's more about the holistic developer. It's like a lot of tech conferences, and rightfully so, focus on the tech, like what's new, how do you use things. What I love about that conference is it's more about, hey, you're a person, so let's talk about your mental wellness. Let's talk about stress. Let's talk about how to get promotions. Let's talk about how to be a good mentor, along with like the tech stuff and what's new in tech. And my favorite thing is that conference is also family focused. So they encourage you to bring your spouse, bring your children, and they have events for everybody. So obviously there's tech talks, like I'll be talking about .NET MAUI, but there's also just like things for non-technical people. And even like from anything from like yoga sessions to 5Ks, and they also have children give presentations as well. So I've seen 10-year-olds give talks at that conference, and they're really good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
there you are, creating apps with .NET MAUI.
Yeah. So the cool thing about that conference this year, well, and I guess last year, 2020, as well as it's also online. So usually that conference is only in person. It's kind of hard to get to for anybody who has to fly in because it's in Wisconsin Dells, Wisconsin, and the nearest airport is about 2 hours away. Or if you want to fly into Chicago like I'm doing, it's a 3-hour drive, but absolutely worth it. Highly recommend anybody who's in the area. If you're near Wisconsin Dells, come show up. You're going to have a great time. You can bring your family. It's at this resort called Kalahari, which is just like picture like a mini Disney World. Like it's got water parks, both indoor and outdoor water parks.
That's
It's
great.
got giant arcades. Like last time we went, some coworkers and I went and played. They have this huge virtual reality simulator, like like a real one where you're in this like giant room and they hook you up into
Oh,
like
crazy.
harnesses that are attached to the ceiling, and like we fought off zombies in one of them. Another one we were like walking around a spaceship because it's kind of like Halo where like you're like fighting aliens as like a space marine. So
Amazing.
all sorts of crazy things to do at Kalahari. So yeah, bring the family, check it out. Or if you're not in the area, it'll be online, so you can also dial in and see all the awesome talks.
That's great. That's great. And then the other link that I posted for GitLab Commit, August 3rd through 4th, totally online. And this is all about modern DevOps. And GitLab just released GitLab 14. And on the 22nd of every month, we release an update. So we're constantly iterating on what we have. And 14 is our big once a year release. So Commit's about, like I said before, it's all about DevOps. And there's going to be tons of speakers from a variety of backgrounds and stages. So head here. There's tons of great ways to, tons of great stuff to see, rather, and should be a great time. So sign up for that conference. Go see Brandon. Sign up for Commit and go see a bunch of other people. I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot of people I work with at Commit, but not me because I don't know how to give talks yet, and I'm working on it.
I've seen you give talks.
You've seen me give
You're
talks.
really good.
I gave a
Plus,
talk.
You gave talks 6 times a day, every day of your life for the last 10 years.
I did say
15 years.
We started doing something at GitLab called the Lean Coffee Speaker Series, where you show up and it's like to practice public speaking, but also to ask people who are used to it. And I was like, so I was a high school teacher for 11 years, and I gave like a new speech 5 times a day, 5 days a week. And they were like, that's a lot. And I was like, oh, that is a lot. Oh, yeah, I've got... I kind of know what I'm doing. That's good.
Right? Oh, man. I couldn't imagine giving that many conference talks.
I mean... And they're
I'm
long,
exhausted.
too.
Yeah, like I'm exhausted if I give multiple conference talks. Like I've done conferences where I've given 3 talks or like hosted a workshop and given a talk, and it's so much material to prepare, and then plus like just doing it is it just saps you of energy. Like you have all this adrenaline going when you're on stage, and when you're done, it's just like
it just eats you. Yeah. Oh, it's a lot.
and
The
yeah,
days,
you did that every day.
The days where I was presenting. So normally I would have. There's 1 year where I only had what's called a prep, which is a type of class that I'm teaching. So like if I taught like English 3 and English 3 honors, English 3 was a prep, English 3 honors was a prep. So it's a course that you have to prepare for. 1 year I taught only English 3 honors. It was 1 prep, but I taught it 6 classes. There were 6 classes I was doing of that. So 6 times a day, I did the exact same thing. So if I was giving a presentation on postmodernist literature, I gave the same presentation 6 times in that day. And it's like a 45-minute long presentation, because usually my PowerPoints and my presentations take like 2 days to get through.
Whew. Now, did the presentation get better by the end of the day or worse by the end of the day?
I would say it's definitely a graph, and you kind of peak on the 3rd time you do it, and then your brain starts to forget. You're like, did I mention this? And the kids are like, no. And I'm like, oh, I guess my brain thought I did because I just did it last period.
I could see that.
So you start
I
like...
just said it an hour ago.
Yeah. The first period of the day, I always notice, like, I only get, like, partway through the slides. By the last one, like, I get through way more. And that last class of the day, I'm like, oh, we finished early. And I got through everything I needed to say.
Let's go home.
That's right. Bye, kids. I used to love in high school. It's so much fun to be like, Oh, we got some time left. You guys can leave early. I'm just kidding. You have to stay right here till the bell rings. Where would you go? Like, just
We don't
sit here and
trust
play
you.
on your phone, dude. It's
We're
fine.
not adults.
Yeah, you can't. Why would I trust you? I've seen what you do in your spare time. All right, where is it?
What are we looking at
MySQL
here?
and app. This is I'm looking to get in and change the URL for the picture of Darius Adafit Peckham.
Ah, right on.
So I'm just heading into the database where access is denied. It's probably not spun up. Like I spun this up a while ago.
That's
it's
right.
Probably
Because we're on the free tier.
yeah. That happens from
Wow.
time to time.
Remember when it took us like an hour to figure out that one?
Yep. We were like, what do you mean? Let us in. And then you're like, go see if it's online. And I opened it up and it worked. And I was like, well, yeah. And then I went back and it was working. And you were like, literally didn't exist. And you had to spin it up again.
Yeah, it's interesting that trying to connect to this PHP MyAdmin dashboard doesn't wake up the server or doesn't tell Azure to spin up all the resources.
You would think it, right?
I mean, they must have a really specific filter. So, like, only if you're hitting port 8080 or what's HTTPS? Is that 8181?
81, I think.
So only if you're coming in via HTTP or HTTPS will they wake it up, and maybe this just doesn't. I don't know. It's probably a good thing because otherwise people would like spam your website,
Yeah.
send you all sorts of like requests and
Don't want that to happen. All right.
Well, I guess
he's all stretched out.
Cool.
But there's a
Do we have
picture.
to change that in the seed data too? Is Darius part of the seed?
Darius and Maggie, I don't think are part of the seed data, actually. We can run this real quick and see how that goes. Oh, wait, hold on. No, MySQL should be running. It should be running. I checked earlier.
Famous last words.
Listen, hold on. We're going to find out live together. Is it running?
Take your bets.
Because I checked before we started streaming. I mean, who knows what's happening? I'm pretty sure I clicked on a thing and I didn't... Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's running. See? Stop. It's
Yeah.
allowed.
Good.
And... should be opening in Safari? There we go. Adding background music is one of the best things we ever did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
there he is.
he's
Or there
in the
he
seed
isn't.
data. Yeah, Maggie Smith is not in there because Maggie I added using the add a poet function or page. So she's only added to the actual database because I did that on my own.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, so
yeah, we can change that URL in the seed data here too. Or is it constants? I think it's a constants.
I think it's in constants. Yeah. Poems constants. Do-do-do. I mean, that's what I said it was earlier, but okay. All right, Ocean.
Yeah, right.
Lele. Shay. Darius Adafit Peckham. Picture URL. Oh, dang it. I forgot that I have the Windows shortcuts. That's a dumb thing for me to do. I should go change that. I don't know why I did that. I would get used to the new thing. All right, so that's done. All right, so his picture will show up now. What do we really need to do? We need to. I think one of the things we should get going is the CI/CD at some point, and before that, we were working on tests. Really, the thing that we started working on months ago was testing.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do some testing. That sounds
Let's do
good.
some tests.
I would say let's first make sure they still run or they still pass.
Yeah.
And I'll show you what I've been doing in VS for Mac. If you go all the way to the top, there's that view menu.
Okay.
All the way to the top. Yeah. And under layout, you can select the test layout.
Okay, cool.
And what this does, boom. Yeah, there it is. So it brings in the tests, that test pane on the right, plus all the that test results pane on the bottom. And it's kind of been my new workflow because you don't always need those test windows there cluttering stuff up because you're not always running tests.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that view because then when you're going back to coding, you can go back to view, layout, code.
Mm.
So something I've been taking advantage of lately. But yeah, if you just click that green run all button, hopefully everything still works.
Always a worry, isn't it? I mean, I don't
huge
think
changes.
Yeah.
It's more just getting this new computer set up.
That's
struggling through that.
Mostly what it was. Yeah.
I mean, mostly getting MySQL server set up. Hey!
All green. That's literally the best website ever made, according to the tests.
So, yeah, the way I like to think about tests and what you can do here, PJ, if you... Oh, shoot, I don't know the Windows command. If you had the Mac keyboard shortcuts, you could say Command Shift minus, or maybe it's just Command minus, and that'll zoom the text out. Doesn't look like it's...
I think it's
goes... like rotating between tabs.
Yeah, which is weird. Dang it, hold on. What we need to do is we need to go in here and turn on, like, Mac shortcuts, because, like, I just need to use Mac shortcuts.
I think it's at the top under key bindings. And then, yeah. All right. Yeah.
There we go.
Now we can all read it.
Yeah, we can all see. All right, there we go. So let's do that.
So, yeah, we started these tests. We have... Yeah, what's under database test? So this is testing what? This is testing authors DB context. Okay. And then under add poet model test, what's that testing? That is, so the add poet page. Okay, cool.
That's something you wrote. We didn't do that together at all.
Oh, I did all this?
I think so. It might have been. I know it was your idea to do an emoji. Oh wait, I think we did. This is like one of the first things we did. Okay, never mind. It's just so long ago.
It's been a really long time.
It's been like, I think it was January or February.
So
right.
Yeah, this was, we tested on post submit. So yeah, I mean, I'll say if we zoom way out, the idea with unit testing is you want to test every public API surface in your app. Mm-hmm. And so if we open up, like, so for this test, it's testing the add poet model class. Mm-hmm. And if we jump over to the code, you can open up add poet model and we can see its API surface, meaning like what's public. Like in the future, some developer could write code that does what?
So we got this.
So we need to test. Yeah, so that's the constructor. We have a public string submission result. We've got a public method on post submit, which we were just testing. So good. Mm-hmm. And what else is public in here? That might be it.
Yeah.
Oh, public on get. it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that test we just did, where we add a poet. Oh, actually. So I think this was a happy path test, right? Like we added a valid poet.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think the only thing we did is we did emojis to see if that would work.
See if it broke the database.
Yeah.
Cool. So, if we jump back to that source code, we can kind of see the path that this test took through the method.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So if we, so what we're checking here is is poem URL valid or is it just null? Mm-hmm. And so we didn't go down that branch. Then the code checks to see if the picture URL is valid. And we did not go down that branch because both of those were valid. So we only really tested this else block here.
Yeah.
So we should add 2 more tests. One that tests if we submit like there's a lot of cases. Because each if checks 2 things. So we have to check to see if the picture URI is null or if it's valid. And write tests for all of those. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Great.
So there's technically 3 branches because we have an if, an else if, and an else. But within those branches, there's 4 conditions. So where do you want to start? You want to write a test for is poem valid to fail?
Yeah, let's see if we can make it fail. That's the only thing I can think of. So is poem URL valid? So we just need to feed it a it's up here. So we need to add into poem URL, we need to give it a fake URL, right?
Yeah, because the way the website works, the user's just entering text into a text box. And so we're asking them for a URL, but they could just say, hello. And so if we didn't do this check, we would just add that URL of hello to the database. And then the website would try to use that when it launches, right? Like it displays all the poets.
Yeah.
And so it would try to display a poet and it would try to display its picture and it would go get the URL, but it would just be hello. And then the website would crash because hello is not a valid URL. So to prevent that, we added this check to say, no, let's make sure that the URL is valid before we accept it.
Sounds good. Okay, so we need to... So in order to do this, do we need to make a new arrange block? Like a whole new... Because this is test. Do we just like collapse this and make another test in here? Do we need to make a whole nother file?
Exactly what you said first. So usually when I do this...
Okay.
Like if I'm working on the same file a lot, I'll just copy paste that whole text block. Because it gives you a nice template to start with. Like like with unit tests, at least in C#, we add that test attribute above it, so that bracket test bracket.
Yeah.
And then the name of the method is also the name of the test. And so with those, there's a convention about like basically we're saying like what are we testing, and the convention is like what file are we testing, so that's the add poet model. What method are we testing, which is on post submit, and then also what are we doing, or some people will phrase this as like what's the result you expect. So in this case it'd be, let's see, we've got to test 2 URLs, so maybe this is invalid poem URL, and then the next one we could do an invalid picture URL. And you don't really see this convention anywhere else in C#. Like rarely in a method do you see like underscores and like super long method names. But in unit tests, it's very much the convention, because when you go to run the test, that method name is going to be what appears. And so when that test fails and you're like, what test was that? It's like, oh, this was the add poet model testing on post submit, and we fed an invalid poem URL. So something in that logic must be broken. And you can kind of just look at the test results without having to be like, oh, like if we called this like test 25.
Oh,
like,
God,
test
that sounds
25
terrible.
Failed.
Test 25. Let's look it up in this handbook.
So, yeah, really all we need to do is, in this act part of the method, is it's already calling on post submit, and really the only thing we could need to change here is the string for the poem URL.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
So like, what's that, line 52?
Yeah.
Change that to just be anything other than a HTTP URL. It could be an emoji, it could be just, this is not a URL. And that should hit that first if branch where it's checking the URL, and that should fail. And so what we should see is, if we jump back to the source code, there's that public string, I think it's called submission result.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to check. We need to check to make sure submission result equals invalid poem URL. And if we go back to the assert block in this unit test, we can just say something like assert submission result, or was it assert r equal?
Yeah,
just like that. So, but instead of like,
And then I'm gonna get rid of that equal sign, and is that the convention?
Yep. So the only thing that's unique about this is if you see the IntelliSense, it says what's the expected result? Pass that in first. What's the actual result? Pass that in second.
Oh.
So the expected result will be the text invalid poem URL.
Yeah.
And honestly, why does that matter? Well, because the test is going to fail anyways if they don't match.
Yeah.
But when the test fails, it'll give you an error message. So it'll say something along the lines of like, test failed, expected blah blah blah, but got blah blah blah. And there's been a couple times where I've run unit tests. I'm like, why would you expect that? Like, that doesn't even make sense. And then I go through it, it's like, oh, because I swapped the R equal.
Because I told you what to expect. So the first thing we want is invalid poem URL.
Yep.
And then actual, do we just...
Yeah, so we'll reference the add poet page object. So we'll say add poet page dot submission result.
Typed ass. Let's see. Add. There we go. Add poet page. Add poet model, right?
Add poet page. And then that's where the submission result lives.
Is it dot actual? No.
Nope. There is no actual. Submission result is just a string that displays on the web page after you submitted it. So that's like the minimum what we need to test here.
Yeah.
But what we should also test is that the poet was not added to the database. So what's nice is we copy pasted a bunch of code that we can leverage. So like, there's the variables up there, authors count _ initial, and that checks the number of authors in the database before we try to add a poet.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
But then we also have the code for authors count _ final, which checks the number of authors in the database after we've submitted the poet. So yeah, we could say assert r equal, final should equal initial. And you could argue that that's good enough. Like, that's, if a poet was added, these numbers wouldn't be equal.
Yeah.
But since we already have all these variables here, we could go a step farther, and we could check something like we could actually check the author's list to make sure there isn't any author with the name of the smiley face emojis. So, like, we could say, like, assert is false, and then we could do something like hit escape real quick so I can cheat and look at the variables up there.
How's that cheating?
Oh, cool. So we have authors DB context. So authors DB context dot authors dot any, and any we can tell to go through all of the authors and check the names to see if any match.
Any?
dbcontext.authors.any. And inside of any, so any's a method, and we got to tell it what to check.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say x goes to x dot. And then...
Oh, God. X.
Oh, yeah. Tab to complete doesn't work great inside of these.
Yeah, X goes to X dot. We're gonna do author name.
Yeah. So
equals, and then the smiley face.
Yeah, I would just say equals, and then the variable author name.
Why am I getting squiggles here?
What's the property in author called? Is it, like, if you do x dot again, it'll give us the IntelliSense. It might just be name, or it could be full name.
Name.
Boom. So I think here we've covered all the bases. We've submitted an invalid URL, and then we verify that the page displays invalid poem URL, which it should. We verified that the same number of authors that we started with, we ended up with, because no author should have been added.
Yep.
And then we kind of went the extra mile and said, you know what? Maybe there's a future scenario where a weird bug could add the author and
it just doesn't add a URL.
Author. Yeah, I don't know. You kind of got to think of, like, every worst case apocalyptic scenario that could ever happen and try to catch them so that your unit test fails when they do. And so even though the author count is going to be the same, we're still going to go through and make sure, let's just make sure none of the authors actually equal.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, we don't want it. Get out of here.
Get out of here.
I do see a red squiggle, line 52. We just need a semicolon at the end of that string.
You and your semicolon rules. In JavaScript, it's a wasteland. Sometimes there's a semicolon, sometimes there isn't.
So, you could right click on that test attribute on line 45 and say run test. Or you could go to view and change the layout to the test layout. But I'll just run the one test right here and make sure everything's good.
Uh-oh. It's an Entity Core framework. I don't know if you can see that.
No, I can't.
It says it's a build error, basically. So
we missed is that a bracket?
We missed a bracket in line 69. Which, yep.
Oh. Okay, then we're good. The other one was just a warning.
This is a smooth jam. Let's try this again.
Smooth jazz. PJ and Brett.
Smooth jazz. 94.5 star. Build succeeded. Where are my tests?
There it is. So, you see that button that says successful tests?
Yeah.
You can click it,
Oh.
and then it'll appear down here.
Here we go.
Yeah, that looks good.
It's successful.
That's great. Right
Nice.
on. Something we should add to the previous test. I don't think the previous test checks the submission result string. Yeah, I don't see anywhere here in assert. So like, what's submission result when the author is successfully added?
Submission result becomes
It's probably success.
oh, there it is. Submission accepted.
Ooh, there's a database there. I didn't see that branch.
Yeah, that's a.
That's if the database doesn't work, huh?
Where's that coming from? The catch try.
So that's like a, for some reason the database didn't add
It
it.
says no, it's not allowed, right?
Yeah, that's something like the database is broken.
Yeah.
Like the website's working, but maybe the database is down. I don't know how we'll test that.
Oh, listen. I don't think it's ever going to happen, said several developers in the history of. When would this happen? Next day.
Whoops.
So.
Well, I mean, for now, we can grab that submission accepted.
Yeah, we'll do. And we could just do. We expect submission accepted. So let's go back here.
Yeah,
R
for the first one, for the happy path test.
Yeah. Oops. Wee wee. And that's gonna be author.
It'd be add poet page.
At poet page.
Cool.
Sweet.
All right.
Yep.
Let's write another test.
All right.
So I would just copy paste the most
second
recent
one.
test.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're basically writing the same test again, but we're just breaking the other URL.
I'm a little concerned about the number of brackets here. I want to make sure. One class test. Yeah, okay. Alright.
Oh, so in C# 10,
Yeah.
they're going to change. So like right now, namespace requires a bracket.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
usually your top one, which indents everything by 4 characters. Just, hey, you want to write code in C#? You lost
4 characters.
4 characters off your screen. In C# 10, which will come out in a couple months, instead of needing a bracket, you can just put a semicolon at the end of the namespace.
Mm-hmm.
And then it doesn't indent all of your code.
That's very nice.
Yeah, that's one of those, like, just a nice little quality of life improvement. Like, yes, there's a purpose for having brackets around namespaces. Like, you could have multiple namespaces in the same file, but in reality, nobody really does that.
Yeah.
Like, usually each file is one class, and one class only has one namespace. And so, let's not clutter things up.
And I'm replacing poem URL with the correct.
Oh, wait. I just noticed. Oh, did you already change the name of the method? Because the method's name is invalid picture URL.
I changed it. I already changed it.
Okay. Whew. I was like, we named that other method wrong.
Nah, we're good. I did the right
Quick.
thing.
And I should probably pay more attention.
No, you were busy talking about C# 10. I didn't want to interrupt. And now this one we're also doing. This is not a URL.
I lose all concept of time when I talk about C# 10.
Just if you ever want to really make Brandon just like lose track of time, just get him talking about C# 10 or Maui, and he's just gone for hours.
Yeah. When I was doing my 8-bit show with Chloe yesterday, she said something like that. She's like, find somebody who talks about you the way Brandon talks about Xamarin and .NET Maui.
That's not bad advice, to be fair.
I do like
That's really good. All right. So now, all we have to do is, like, this is going to be the same. This is going to be the same. And then this is the extra just to make sure that goes in. But really, we're just hoping that picture URL gets caught. So all of the asserts are the same.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we display different text? Like, this says invalid poem URL.
Oh, maybe you're right.
We'll probably tell the user something like invalid picture URL.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, hopefully we did.
Hopefully.
It's like, otherwise we found a bug.
I actually remember that's what this is for.
Yeah, so like that's the fun in unit testing, is you'll find bugs just writing these tests. But then once you have written the test, that bug's basically fixed forever.
Yeah.
As long as you, in your CI pipeline, run your unit test before you publish the website.
I remember you saying, like, when we were building the ad poet, I was like, so we'll tell them there's an error, and you were like, we should probably tell them specifically what they did wrong so they're not confused. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. You're right.
Man, as a user, I hate that. Like,
yeah,
just like an error happened. It's like, okay, but if you tell me, I can probably fix it.
I actually just bought a sticker for my laptop stand. It's like a Windows 3.1 error message, and it says,
cool.
"Hey, don't do that." And underneath it, the only option to click is "Sorry." That's a big part of like vaporwave and like post-consumer 90s culture is this obsession with like Windows dialog boxes. It's everywhere. Do you want to give up
90s.
life? Yes, no. And there's like a floating bottle of like Fiji water in the background or something, and a Pepsi logo somewhere.
And imagine it's like dancing like this.
Oh yeah.
Or like
Or
spinning.
just like doing like the half rotate. And there's a Sega noise every 10 seconds, but like really like distorted and granular. Sega.
Oh man.
Look, this is all stuff I actually like, so.
I was just listening to a podcast that was talking about like the first talking dolls, where I want to say it was Edison made the first one back in the day, where he like recorded. Oh, what was it? I want to say it was something like children's poetry rhyme.
Oh, Mary Had a Little Lamb.
Put it in a doll, and it was terrifying. Like they played the recording. It sounds like some
terrifying.
demonic recording, and like, I mean, this was like the first ever recording, right? So like, it's just like a piece of wax with a little needle in it. We hadn't really figured it out yet, but it kind of worked. And the lady had to scream into the microphone for it to like pick up enough.
Jeez.
And so you see this lady like, like, people gave that to their kids?
Yeah.
Be
Here you
terrified.
go. Gretchen, which is a name that I'm sure was a very 1910s name.
Oh, Gretchen definitely had one of these dolls.
Got you a dolly. And then Gretchen disappears. And I think this is actually the plot of the new Conjuring movie.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. Terrifying. Something I do want to test for, and something that was brought to my attention by a coworker, a good guy. I want to test to make sure that since emojis are allowed, I'm sure it's okay. but that for names, apostrophes and other non-letters are allowed because my coworker is Brendan O'Leary, and there's an apostrophe in his name, and he constantly gets rejected by forums that say you have to use a real name, and he's like, it's my real name. He's building a great talk about this, about how simple accessibility should be and how it's often overlooked, and the biggest reason it's overlooked is because you don't have a diverse enough group of people looking at something. And so it's all about like simple stuff. So you'll see him constantly. If that ever happens, he gets on Twitter and he tags the company. He's like, hey, I have a real name. You guys are just writing lazy code, so you should be more accessible.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm even trying to think of what excuse you can have nowadays, because, like, when we set up our database, in SQL it's called varchar, but it's basically just a string of text. Like,
yeah,
it means you can put any text in there. I wonder, is there an older kind of, we'll say, database column that only allows like numbers and letters?
I have to wonder if it was a thing where they were like, we don't want people messing with it. Like, you remember that old skit on yeah, like that old skit where from the Chappelle Show, where it was like when keeping it real goes wrong, and it was like, I don't like people messing with my phone. And I wonder if they were like, let me share this. Yeah.
Because it's either a database error, where like the database is rejecting an apostrophe or a space, or it's a validation error. So just like here where we're validating the URLs, they are validating the text to make sure there's no spaces or apostrophes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely agree with, most errors like that, I'll say majority, aren't done in malice, but like you said, it's you just don't have a diverse enough team. Like, so nobody thought to think like, oh, what if it's a hyphenated last name? What if there's an apostrophe in the last name? What if they have two last names?
I mean, that's the source of all accessibility problems, whether it's a literal, like, access to a website or an app or something, or just in general in society, is a lack of broad experience, where you can't conceive of a situation where someone would need an apostrophe, and all it takes is hanging out with one Irish dude, and you'll see it. But this is Brendan. He built a talk around this called Do Better, and he always puts all of his materials up later, slides and the talk, and resources talking about accessibility and the importance of it. He goes into the Zoom digital backgrounds that were having trouble with black people, and then into Twitter. You remember the kerfuffle, not a kerfuffle, a problem, where Twitter's algorithm was automatically selecting white people to focus on for thumbnails.
Oh, wow. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that came from a guy who was talking about accessibility problems with virtual backgrounds. Because he tried to post about it on Twitter, and then he noticed Twitter was always cropping to him. And he was like, why is that? And then Twitter's fix-it was, we're no longer cropping pictures, as opposed to, let's examine why this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, what I assumed was going on is they were using some sort of facial recognition, and whatever came back with the strongest correlation of a face is what they cropped to. And so, I mean, and this is just me guessing based off experience, but, or how I would set it up. But yeah, so my guess is it's that facial recognition AI that they were using, or that algorithm, that was the problem. So it's interesting to like we're not gonna actually fix that,
right?
That's gonna be too hard. We're just not gonna
listen. Retraining the algorithm, we'll just get rid of it. If it's a problem, we'll get rid of it. It's like, well, just this is what we mean when we say structural biases, and like when we talk about racism, like with a capital R, like this is what we're talking. It's built in. And then they're like, yeah, but we're not racist because we don't crop the pictures anymore. It's like, listen, like, the symptom got dealt with here, and we need to talk about how we got to that in the first place. Yeah. But great talk. Brendan O'Leary is an absolutely amazing DevRel, and I'm so lucky to be on a team with him. He's actually the first person I met in person from GitLab too.
Cool.
Yeah.
So he in Orlando then?
He took a trip.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a son, and for his son's 10th birthday, they went to Harry Potter World at Universal. So I wrote up like a 3-page like Google Doc telling them what to see, what's available. Because like, you know, when you go to a theme park or someplace new, you don't know what's going on. I was like, here's what you got to do. Here's how this ride is. Here's what I recommend. Here's the hidden stuff that you don't necessarily know until someone tells you. And so I gave him that document, and I got to meet up with him for lunch one day at Disney Springs, because Disney was the thing they were not doing on their trip. They were doing Legoland and Universal.
Cool.
He's a cool dude. He's a great dude. Friend of my channel for sure, and actually the namer of many of the bots in the Divas. Badiana Grande and Mechanical Carry was him in the chat. Alright, so that is something I want to make sure for. I'm pretty sure the emoji one covers it, because those are emojis.
Yeah, I would say we could probably leverage the same test. So just add stuff to that name. So like we've got emojis in there. You could put an apostrophe in there, put a space in there. Maybe grab like a non-English character, like a Cyrillic character.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Percent sign's a good idea. I'm trying to think what else.
I'm thinking
the non-Latin character actually might blow up the database.
Really?
It might. It depends how. I mean, so for everybody watching, like, we seem pretty clueless about the database, and that's because Entity Framework built it for us. So we did a code-first approach where we wrote the code and said, "Hey, Entity Framework, here's the requirements we need. Make it happen." And yeah, sometimes databases will default to only Latin characters, and so I've seen non-Latin characters blow it up.
Gonna put some Korean in here. That's the
Nice.
T sound, the P sound, and a H sound.
Cool.
You know what? It'd be kind of fun to write my name in Korean on there. And have that be what we're looking for. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Okay. Let's have some fun with a Korean keyboard. I still keep my my Korean keyboard on my phone too, and every once in a while.
Look at that.
P.
I'm always very impressed how languages with like symbolic characters like this are able to also type on a keyboard.
Well, this one, Korean is a straight alphabet. It's different from Japanese and Chinese, where, oh, dang it, I tried to do a copy. I gotta do it all over again. So yeah, Korean's a straight, like, each letter represents a sound, and there are, what's it called when there's two vowels next to each other? It's kind of a funny name. Diphthongs. There are diphthongs and stuff that change it slightly, but you can learn to read Korean in an afternoon. Like, at least to understand the sounds and everything, for sure.
Very cool.
And I know you don't believe me, but trust me, it's true.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You sent me stuff when we came to visit you in Korea.
Alright.
Yeah, I remember watching somebody on the subway back in the day. Because they were typing in Chinese. And yeah, with Chinese, each character is just a different word.
Yeah.
And so basically it was like predictive text. So as they were typing
Yeah.
it out, it gave them suggested, I don't know what their alphabet's called, but the Chinese characters,
Yeah.
and you could select one as you were typing it out. So I think let's say you still typed in the Latin alphabet,
Mm-hmm.
but then
I'm not
you
sure.
would figure out the Chinese word.
I know that the way that like there's so
Japan's got that.
there's like
Japanese.
two types of keyboards in Korea. And one is the traditional QWERTY one, just with the symbols replaced. But there's also like a squared off version where you're picking the letters, and it does some of that similar predictive text, and it's very different. And I think that that's the same way Japanese works. Like if you look at like in like here it is. Check it out.
Oh, cool.
So it's like versions of it instead of like the QWERTY style, which is what like I essentially just used a version of this.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a different version entirely.
And so did those symbols update as you're typing? Like that is
Yeah.
your predictive text?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's kind of, from what I saw, it looks a lot closer to like the T9.
Yeah, that's what I was
And I
just
think
thinking.
Japanese is very similar. Yeah. Like there's the keyboard.
Cool.
It's totally, totally different. And you can see there's like various symbols and stuff. I love stuff like this. This stuff's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Just one bow on that is there's the guy who figured out how to do that, like to be able to allow typing for say non-Latin languages. Like he deserves a lot more credit than he gets. The moral of the story is like, because if this guy couldn't do it, or this guy hadn't done it, then we wouldn't all be able to use the same computers. Like
Yeah.
you would have Chinese computers versus American computers versus Japanese computers versus Korean computers, and basically he was able to figure out how it could still work and we could still unify all the hardware, and otherwise, yeah, it'd be this crazy bifurcation of technologies where, like, oh yeah, this is cool, but it only works on a Chinese PC. Like, oh, okay.
Whoops. And then imagine like a future where it was like, yeah, you have to have the different PCs in your home. You're like as the global world grows, it's like, oh well, don't you have to use your different PC for this? So everyone has 3 PCs.
Ugh.
Terrifying, right? Terrifying.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and really, it's China is such a manufacturing powerhouse, and so if
It probably
everyone
would have
making
been-
computers for themselves, then
Who's gonna
we
make?
gotta build
Who's
factories.
gonna make the
and-
English ones? Ugh. All right, so you want to insert. Actually, I just realized I inserted this into the invalid picture URL, and that's not what we're testing for. So do we need to write a new test, or can we just assert within this as well?
I would do that in the first test, that happy path,
Okay.
because in the to the database, it's like
Let's.
is my mic flaking out? The
Yeah, it was
code
flaking
actually
out a
never
little.
reaches the database. So
Right.
yeah, we want to do it where
So
this actually gets written.
yeah. Okay. And so we just want this test to pass, the happy path one to pass, and
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I'm realizing how wonderful this newest author thing is. That's really nice. Like,
Maybe.
creating that is a good... That was a good idea.
So you have to keep typing out
Oh,
everything.
that was a
every
real
time.
good idea. Alright, so that should be correct for this one. We got invalid picture URL, and everything else are the sort of fail-safe tests, right?
Yeah, so I'd say let's jump over that test view and let's run them all. And the reason I say this is as you're writing tests, just like we did, like we wrote a test and then we ran the one test individually. But sometimes tests can impact previous tests or the next test because maybe we didn't clean up properly, right?
Okay.
So I don't see it necessarily happening here. Well, maybe in the one where we added an author, if there's a future test that expects only the seed data to be there, then that could fail. So stuff like that will happen, and it's happened to me a bunch where I write the test, I run it, it works, and then later especially when you're setting up CI/CD and you're saying like, okay, run all the tests, and it's just this one failed. You're like, and then I go back into Visual Studio and I run the one test. I'm like, nope, it definitely works. And you run it all together.
So cleaning up would be like delete the previous entry.
Yeah, and we might have done that. Like I saw we have a base test class, and in base test is where we should have a setup and a teardown. So we
only got a setup.
And so, yeah, like tear down could delete the database or clear everything from the database because setup should repopulate the seed data every time thanks to this db initialize or initialize method. So we can do that right now if you want. I
mean, might as well put a teardown in.
Yeah. So yeah, if you do the attribute and just say teardown, I think it is.
Nice, there it is.
Teardown down. And you can call it whatever you want, like public void teardown. Because the name of the method doesn't matter, it's just that attribute will basically, so yeah, teardown will run after each test. And so I don't know, is there like a authors db context dot like drop? Or like is there something nuclear? We just say like delete all?
Remove.
What's remove range? Does that give us
remove range is an object with entities.
It's expecting. Yeah, I was hoping it would be like a number, or we just like remove all. What else do we got?
Remove takes out an entity.
Is there one
and
called
then
drop? Because if you drop a table, it'll literally
dispose. Releases something. I really thought remove would take care of it. I mean, do you want to go into author's DB context and see what we got?
No, because it inherits from DB context. So what we could just scroll down that IntelliSense list.
Okay. Alright.
See what methods are available. Like there's a bunch of ads. Don't attach anything. Remove changes.
Update?
Nah, update is for a specific row in the database.
Okay.
Like if you want to change the author's name.
Is there a way to just remove, like the same way we had like in the add poet model tests, where we have we created a variable for authors DB context authors dot last.
Right.
Just create a variable and say remove that.
Yeah, I guess we could iterate through all the authors and see if, like, just like we did a second ago, where we checked the name. Like, does this name exist? We could do something similar and say, like, if the name doesn't exist, delete it.
mean, we could make it that we're using the same, or maybe we make it, say we're not testing something like a poem name. We can make that poem name a hard string that's the same in every test, and we look for that poem name and get rid of it. And get rid of that and anything that's related to it.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking, leveraging these existing poem constants.
Mm-hmm.
So you can basically compare the names in the poem constants to the names in the database, and if one doesn't match, remove it.
Does that sound like a lot of extra memory and work, or is that not a big deal?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter for us. I'm just talking about in best practice land.
I mean, if so, getting into theoretical, we're comparing two lists against each other,
Mm-hmm.
which means we have to iterate through each list, and we have to iterate through the second list every time we go through one thing on the first list. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
So, what that means, if you remember Big O,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. What's the big O on this?
so
It's like O to the N?
n squared, yeah.
Okay.
But our poem constants only has what 8
12.
poets in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, if this was like a production, like if this was not test
This is
code,
Facebook.
like, right? Like if Facebook had to iterate over 1 billion users with an x squared O of n, then the website's gonna be crippled. But
Yeah.
here we're gonna iterate through 8 authors in our poem constants,
Yeah.
and then I don't know. Right now, the most poets we've added is 1, so 9. So it's
So it would
not
be
bad.
Poems Constants is going to have new stuff in it, right? After the test runs.
No, so that the poem constants is a constant. That won't change.
That's
So
right. Sorry.
That's our baseline. So, yeah, what I'm thinking is we'll do a for each loop around authorsdbcontext.authors. So you
Okay.
can say like for each author in authors DB context, yeah, and do a var in front of author.
Yeah, thanks.
That'll initialize it.
Hey, Lobster. For each var author in authors DB context, which is not recognizing.
Dot authors.
Dot authors. Thank you.
And then, yeah, here we just check. We could probably say we could probably do the any again. So like, so I would say like var does exist equals. We would do poem constants.
Might need to bring that in.
Yeah, it'll bring in the namespace. It's where it didn't show up there. Go to your settings real quick. 'Cause that should have. Yeah, go to preferences and where do we go here? IntelliSense. Yeah, show import items. Check that, and then also check the other one. Yeah. So now if you delete poem constants and start typing again, reset the IntelliSense.
Nope. Got ahead of myself.
Maybe we have to close the file, reopen it, or close Visual Studio.
Oh, I need to type it correctly. I put po constants.
Yeah, it's still not coming in. Eventually it'll show up. I don't know if we have to restart the IDE or not after that. That's the one.
Using? No.
Yep.
There we go.
So yeah, poemconstants.author.
Oh, we got author
And-
list. Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool.
And then this is where we can do the .any. So that'll also, you have to bring in namespace for that too. That's
So let's do this.
system.link. So yeah, what that setting change did, it'll show you in IntelliSense things that you haven't brought in their namespaces yet,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll just automatically bring it in for you. So yeah, not any is a method, so we have to do that. X goes to
Thanks.
X dot. Probably just check the. Actually, what is the primary key for our author?
Isn't it?
Oh, it's ID.
ID.
But I don't think we have an ID in our constants. Like if you go to the authors list there.
Declaration, right?
Purposely leave. Yeah, I think we purposely leave that blank. Let's see. I don't see a setting ID.
Yeah, we don't set it. We let it set it for us.
All right, so let's just do the name then.
Okay.
So kind of same idea. So x.name equals author.name. And then below here is where we can say if does exist, we'll delete it out of the database.
And that's where we're gonna.
If does not exist. That's right. Because this is, if it does exist, then we found an author that matches, which is good. If it doesn't exist, that means the author we found is not in our constants, and so we want to remove it.
Okay.
And
All
now,
right.
and now because we know we have that author object, now we can say authors db context authors.remove. So now we can take advantage of those remove methods. It's just the tough thing for me with remove is like it needs the actual thing from the database. So yeah, you pass in the author. Like I was really hoping like there's gonna be a method that said like remove at index 10.
Yeah. Right.
Because we know like there only should be, we'll say 8 poets in our database, but if there's anything more,
yeah.
so if there's 9,
it could be
10, remove that. But
remove range of like this index to that index. It'd be nice, but like that doesn't look like that's what range was taking in.
I know that's what I was really hoping for. But
well, sorry to dash your hopes, buddy.
And then,
okay, so
if you want to go a step further, you could do the same thing. Oh, you know what? We need to save those changes. Oh, I'm sorry. Also that. Anytime you do an action with EF Core, you have to then say save changes.
oh gosh, that's right.
So, but let's do this. Let's copy paste this for each loop, and let's do the same thing with poets.
Just right here in teardown.
Poems. Yeah. So authors db context.poems. Because there might be, and there probably will be, a place where we add a poem in. And so here, yeah, does poems have a name? Maybe it's title.
Author.
Title.
That's the title of the poem, right?
Yep. And then we also have to make sure we're going through poems constants. Let's see, that's dot authors list. So we're never going to find an author whose name matches the poem title.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go to authors list? Right click on that and go to the declaration. Because I think we're initializing the poems inside each author. We are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And is there anything else in this file other than this list of poems? Like, is there another public property?
Nope.
Okay,
I
cool.
don't think so.
So we need to pull out all the poems from the authors list. And let's see if I can remember how to do that. So it's like, I think it's called select many. So yeah, if we go back to the teardown, I think try saying authors list dot select many. So basically, like, we're going into the list of authors, and we're going to select a list. It should be able to infer it. So if we say, like that, yeah, this x goes to x dot, change x dot to be the list of poems. I think each author has a list of poems, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so x dot poems. And then that's it. So we can delete like the equals equals stuff. All right. So hover your mouse over select many again, and let's make sure now we like select many should return a list. Okay, so an IEnumerable of poems. Perfect. So now we can say dot any and compare the name of the poem.
No, it's gonna be.
And we'll slow down and explain all this in a second once we have it all typed out. So,
is it another X goes to?
Yep. So this should be poem title again. Yeah. X title equals.
Poems, right?
Yep. Poems title.
Dang.
Let's fix one more thing before I forget. The remove line on line 44. That is, it should be authors db context dot poems dot remove. So, yeah, what did we just write? If we look above the easier one on line 32, dot any will iterate through the list of authors, looking for a match. And as soon as it finds a match, it stops iterating.
Cool.
So it starts at the first author in the list and says, hey, does your name match this author's name? No? Okay. Next author in the list. Does your name match this author's name? It does? Great. I'm going to return true, and then I'm done searching.
Mm-hmm.
On line 41, what we did was we said that there's a list inside the list. So, like, each author has a list of poems.
Uh-huh.
So let's select all of them.
Yeah.
And that's called select many in C#. So by saying select many, it returns a list of the poems from all the authors. So if you can visualize this, because what we're doing, we're using link, LINQ. So .any, .select many, these are all link statements, and really, link are just nested for loops. So,
okay,
like we were saying earlier with authors list.any, it's iterating through the list. So if we looked at the compiled code, C# actually takes this and turns it into a for each loop. So instead of us writing the for each loop, the C# compiler is doing it for us. So yeah, there's a for each loop here where it's iterating through every author in the list, and it's aggregating together all of their poems. And so that's what it's returning back to us. It said, hey, we found 8 authors. Some of them had 1 poem, some of them had 2 poems, some of them had 0 poems, but here's all the poems. So select many will kind of aggregate all of those for us. And then it does a .any. So you can almost picture this in your head, like this is a for each loop to select all the poems, and then another for each loop to iterate through them to see if there's any matching titles.
All within a for each loop that we wrote.
Yeah. So we're iterating like crazy. Like this is very unperformant code, non-performant code.
This is not what you want to do for big, important projects. But when you've got a poetry website with like 8 authors on it, you're fine.
Yep. But as long as you know that, like a lot of folks don't realize that these link statements are just for loops or for each loops.
Yeah.
And they're not really performant. So, but again, it's like it won't scale. Like,
Yeah.
with 8 authors, this is going to execute in less than a millisecond.
If we ever have to get off the free tier because my website gets crazy popular,
yeah,
we'd consider a different solution.
I tell you what, let's put a breakpoint here on line 35 and line 44 inside those if, basically where we're going to remove stuff. And move your mouse over just a little bit farther to the left. Keep going.
God, it kills me.
Just a little bit farther to the left. That the light gray area.
There's a light gray area?
So
that doesn't even look like it's part of it. It looks like a that makes it crazy. And another one where?
On the other remove. Because what we'll do is line 44, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go back to that happy path test, because that's when we're actually add something.
Mm-hmm.
And you can right click on that test attribute. Oh wait, we didn't save. Shoot. If you go, the final line of that teardown should be authors db context dot save changes.
Of the whole teardown?
Yep.
Okay. And then it should be off.
I take it back. Let's do it immediately. Let's save right away. So like inside of that if block, we'll say dot remove, then we'll say dot save changes, because there is a, like, the poems are linked to an author. So there's a world where we could tell it to remove the author and remove the poems by that author, and it might confuse, because it's going to try and remove.
Okay, got it. It may be null.
Yeah, just give it a capital A.
Okay.
Alright, so yeah, now let's go back to that happy path test. You can right click on that test attribute and say debug test. And if we did everything right, we should hit a breakpoint. And then I gotta run.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think you usually have a hard out.
I do. Got a hard out.
And yeah,
Solar
we hit
opposites.
breakpoints. Solar opposites.
No, those are just saying the breakpoints exist. Now we hit the breakpoint. Cool.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we wanted. We found an author that doesn't exist. What we should do is hover our mouse over that author object here, and let's just make sure it's the author that we added with the weird name.
Like over that?
Yep, that works. Yep, so there's the weird name we added.
Hey, cool.
So now we're kicking it out of the database, and if you click the play button at the top, we probably won't even hit the next breakpoint, because we removed the author along with all his poems. So
yeah, and it just gave us a successful test.
Boom!
Nice.
Look at that. Ship it.
I'll do all the saving and everything on my end. You go get to your next thing that you gotta do. Thank you for joining us. I'm PJ Metz. This is Brendan Minnick. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on GitLab and GitHub and all those places. And come see us sometime. Thanks so much. See you later.
Bye.